You walk into the bathroom on a Tuesday morning, and there it is, a dark patch in the corner of the shower where the caulk meets the tile. Small enough to ignore last week, bigger now. You spray it with the bleach cleaner from under the sink, the white bottle with the orange cap that costs $6. The mold goes pale for a few days, then it comes back, darker, a little wider. You spray it again, it goes pale again, it comes back again. By the end of the summer, the patch has crept up the grout line to the second tile, and there is a second patch now in the corner of the windowsill, and a third one starting on the ceiling above the tub that you can just reach with a rag on a broomstick. You are not winning. You are renting the mold a home and paying $6 a bottle to pretend otherwise. Now step into the basement. The concrete wall in the far corner where the water comes in after a hard rain, the black fuzz on the drywall behind the water heater, the gray-green film on the wood framing under the stairs, the smell that greets you every time you open that door. Earthy, heavy, the smell that means the mold has been here longer than you knew and it is deeper than the surface. Or the kitchen. The grout between the backsplash tiles behind the stove that has gone gray and then black, and that no amount of scrubbing with a toothbrush has touched. The rubber seal around the refrigerator door. The caulk around the kitchen sink that has gone from white to the color of old ash. This is not a dirt problem. This is a living thing in your walls, in your grout, and your caulk, and the bleach spray is not killing it, it is making it go quiet for a week. Now, I want you to sit with this. There is a white powder you can buy at any hardware store or pharmacy for less than $1 worth per batch. You dissolve it in warm water, brush it on the mold, and walk away. No scrubbing. No fumes that make you hold your breath and open a window. No gloves burning your hands, and the mold does not go pale for a week and come back. The mold dies, the surface stays clean for months, sometimes far longer. And if the mold does return, you brush on another coat in 10 minutes from the same box of powder that has been sitting under your sink since last spring. Still mostly full. My name is Amish Stoltzfus. I am Amish, and I farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Our farmhouses are old. Stone and timber and plaster, dark cellars and low-ceiling bathrooms and kitchens that have been damp in some corner or another every winter for 100 years. Mold is not a stranger to us, neither is the powder I am about to show you. We have been using it since long before the white bottle with the orange cap existed. Before I go further, for the folks who want all of this, every method I have shown on this channel, and the ones I have not gotten to yet, all in one place, I have put it together in a book at my website, amishstoltzfus.com. I will not push it again in the video. If you want it, it is there. Now let me show you the method, and let me be honest with you right at the start, the way I always am, because the title of this video is bold, and you deserve to know what holds up plain and what holds up with a fair word of explanation. Folks will tell you this powder kills all mold permanently. The honest truth is more useful. It kills surface mold on non-porous and semi-porous surfaces thoroughly and with a durability that bleach spray cannot match. It leaves behind a residue that keeps inhibiting mold growth for weeks and months after you apply it. But it is not a cure for a moisture problem. If the water is still coming in, the mold has a reason to be there, and no powder in the world changes that reason. Fix the moisture first, then use the powder. Done in that order, what you get is mold that goes away and stays away for a very long time. That is honest. That is what permanently means in plain farmer English. Not magic, just chemistry that outworks the spray by a wide margin. One more honest word before we go further, and this one matters for safety. Not all mold is the same. Black mold on the grout line of your shower and black mold growing deep in a wall cavity after a flood are two different situations. The method I am about to show you handles surface mold. The mold you can see and reach if you have had water damage in your walls, if the mold is behind drywall or under flooring or in insulation, that is a job for a remediation professional, not a brush and a jar of powder. I will not have you making a bad situation worse by painting over a deeper problem. Know what you are dealing with. Surface mold, proceed. Hidden mold in building materials, after water damage, call someone who can open the wall and see what is actually there. Stay with me. Let me first tell you what is really happening. Because once you understand the simple science of it, the bleach bottle under your sink is going to make a different kind of sense to you. Mold is a fungus, not a stain, not a dirt smear, a living organism with roots it pushes into the surface it grows on. The part you see, the dark patch on the grout or the fuzzy black spot on the caulk, that is just the top of it. The roots, what the scientists call the hyphae, go down into the pores of the grout and the caulk and the wood beneath. They are anchored in. Now here is why the bleach spray does not work the way the bottle wants you to believe. Bleach is mostly water, about 95% water, with a small amount of sodium hypochlorite dissolved in it. When you spray bleach on mold on a porous surface like grout or wood, the water in the bleach sits on top of the surface. The chlorine in the bleach oxidizes the surface of the mold colony, bleaches the color out of it, kills what is right on the very top, and then the water evaporates and leaves the roots behind, alive in the pores of the material, untouched. The mold looks gone. It is not gone, it is just waiting. In a week or two, the colony regrows from the roots still sitting in your grout. You spray again. The cycle repeats. The cleaning industry knows this. The EPA has stated plainly in its own published guidance on mold that bleach is not recommended for porous surfaces and that it does not prevent mold from returning. That guidance is on the EPA's own website, free to read, has been there for years. The bleach company does not run commercials quoting the EPA's guidance on mold. They run commercials showing the mold going away, which it does, for a week. Now here is the thing about borax. Borax is a naturally occurring mineral salt, sodium tetraborate. It has been mined from dry lake beds in California and used as a household cleaner and preservative since the 1800s. You've probably seen the green and white box of 20 Mule Team Borax on the laundry aisle your whole life and walked right past it because nobody ever told you what it actually does to mold. Here is what it does. When you dissolve borax in water and apply it to a mold colony, it does something the bleach cannot. It penetrates. Borax in water is alkaline with a pH of around 9.3. Mold, like most fungi, cannot survive in a strongly alkaline environment. The borax solution soaks into the pores of the grout, the wood, the caulk, the concrete, and it raises the pH of the environment the mold roots are living in. The roots cannot hold on. The whole colony dies, not just the top of it, the roots and all. And here is the small marvel of it. Borax does not evaporate the way the water in bleach evaporates. The mineral stays behind in the pores of the surface after the water dries, a fine residue of borax, invisible to the eye, sitting in the grout and the wood and the concrete long after you have put your brush away. And mold that tries to grow back has to contend with that residue. It is not a perfect shield forever. Rain washes it off outdoor surfaces. Heavy moisture can dilute it indoors over many months. But on a bathroom grout line or a basement wall or a windowsill kept reasonably dry, that borax residue sits and keeps working for weeks, sometimes for many months, without you touching it again. That is the difference between killing the top and killing the root. That is why the museum conservators and the old building restorers and the timber framers have used borax on old wood for a very long time. Not because it is new, because it works at the level where the problem actually lives. Now I owe you the honest scope of what surfaces this works on and which ones need a different approach, because I will not have you ruin a thing by using the wrong tool on it. Borax solution works very well on tile grout, concrete, brick, unsealed or painted wood, drywall that has not been soaked through, ceiling tiles, rubber seals like refrigerator gaskets, caulk, and most hard bathroom and kitchen surfaces. These are the places where mold most commonly lives in a house and where borax reaches the roots most effectively. Borax solution is not the right tool for finished hardwood floors, polished marble or granite countertops, or any surface that is specifically labeled as not to be cleaned with alkaline products. On finished hardwood, the alkalinity can strip the finish. On polished stone, it can dull the surface. Know your surface. When in doubt, test a small hidden spot first and let it dry before you decide. For unsealed wood that has been wet and is heavily molded, borax is excellent. For wood that has been painted or varnished, the borax may not penetrate through the coating to the wood beneath. Scrape or sand the mold off first, then treat the bare wood, then repaint. That is the right order. And for fabrics, clothing, upholstery, curtains, borax can be used as a soak for washable fabrics by dissolving it in the wash water. But for upholstered furniture or mattresses with deep mold, you are in the same territory as the wall cavity problem. If the mold has gone deep into the fill, you need a professional or a replacement, not a brush. That is the honest scope. Grout, concrete, wood, drywall, rubber seals, tile, caulk. That is where this powder does its best work. And that is most of the mold most folks are dealing with in most houses. Now let me show you what to buy and how to mix it, because the parts are plain and cheap, and you likely have one of them in your house already. Borax, the green and white box, 20 Mule Team Borax, or any pure borax powder. On the laundry aisle at most grocery stores, hardware stores, or online, a 4-pound box costs about $5 to $7 and will make enough mold treatment solution to cover every moldy surface in a typical house many times over, and have powder left to spare. The cost per batch of solution is well under $1. Distilled water, or warm tap water. For this application, tap water is generally fine. Borax is alkaline enough that the minerals in tap water do not fight it the way they fight some other chemistry. A gallon of distilled water at the grocery store is $1 if you want to be careful. Warm tap water from the faucet costs nothing and works. A spray bottle or a clean jar with a foam brush or an old paintbrush. Whatever you have. A stiff bristled scrub brush for grout or concrete if the mold colony is thick. Safety glasses. Not because borax is as dangerous as bleach, it is far less harsh. But you do not want spray in your eyes from any cleaning solution. Rubber gloves. Again, borax is gentle, but wear them anyway. Common sense. That is the whole list. Here is how to mix it. I will tell it slow. Take a clean bowl or measuring cup. Pour in 1 cup of warm water. Add 1 tablespoon of borax powder. Stir until the powder dissolves. The water will stay mostly clear. That is your solution. 1 tablespoon per cup of water. For a larger batch, a quart of warm water with 4 tablespoons of borax. For a spray bottle, mix a full bottle's worth at once and keep it ready. For very heavy mold colonies, thick fuzzy growth that has been there a long time, you can go up to 2 tablespoons per cup of water. Stronger concentration, more alkalinity, faster kill. But 1 tablespoon is the standard, and it handles most household mold cleanly. Now here is how to use it. First, ventilate the room. Open a window, run the bathroom fan, open a door. Not because borax fumes are dangerous. They are not harsh the way bleach fumes are. But mold spores disturb easily when you start cleaning, and you do not want to breathe a cloud of them. Second, if the mold colony is thick, scrub it lightly first with a dry brush to knock off the bulk of the growth. Do not rinse with water first. Do not spray bleach first. Just knock off the loose material dry and let it fall onto an old rag or a damp paper towel you can pick up and throw away. Third, apply the borax solution. Spray it onto the surface or brush it on generously with a foam brush or an old paintbrush. Cover the entire mold patch and an inch or two around the edges. The edges matter. The hyphae extend beyond the visible colony. Fourth, and this is the part that is different from everything the bottle of spray cleaner tells you to do. Do not rinse it off. Leave it. Walk away. Let the borax solution dry on the surface completely. This is how the residue stays behind in the pores. If you rinse it off, you wash away the protection. The surface may show a faint white haze when it dries. On grout and concrete, this is invisible, or nearly so. On a smooth white tile face, a very faint film. Wipe the tile faces gently with a barely damp cloth after the borax has dried, if you want the tile surface clear, but leave the grout lines alone. The residue in the grout is doing its work. For the bathroom, do this in the evening after the last shower. Let it sit overnight. By morning, it is dry and working. For wood surfaces in the basement, apply and let dry fully. If the wood is going to be repainted or covered, the borax dries clean under paint. For rubber seals on the refrigerator or washing machine, brush the solution into the folds of the seal. Let it dry. Wipe the rubber gently with a dry cloth after an hour so the seal stays flexible. For the worst grout lines, apply 2 coats. First coat, let it dry. Second coat, let it dry. The conservation restorers who use borax on old timber beams always do 2 thin coats rather than 1 heavy one. Same principle as the tannin and the ironwork. 2 thin coats bond better than 1 thick one. Reapply every few months in areas that stay damp. The bathroom ceiling above the tub, the grout in the corner of the shower floor. In a bathroom that runs the fan every time and dries out between showers, 1 treatment can hold for many months. In a bathroom that stays damp, touch it up every 2 or 3 months. 20 minutes from the same box of powder you bought last spring. Now, the safety word, plainly, because there are a few things you should know before you put this powder in your hand. Borax is a naturally occurring mineral, and it is far less toxic than bleach or most commercial mold sprays. The EPA does not classify it as a carcinogen. It does not produce chlorine gas. It will not burn your lungs when you spray it in an enclosed space the way bleach can. That said, borax is not harmless. Swallowed in large amounts, it is toxic. Keep the box and the mixed solution out of reach of children and pets. Do not let pets walk through freshly applied borax solution before it dries, especially cats who lick their paws. The concentration in one application is low, but there is no reason to let a pet lie in it. Do not mix borax with bleach. The combination is not as dangerous as bleach with ammonia, but there is no benefit to mixing them and no reason to do it. Use one or the other, not both. Borax does the better job on its own. Wear the glasses and the gloves when you are mixing and applying. Common sense, same discipline you would give to any cleaning product in your house. That is the safety word. Mind it. Now I want to take a moment because this is the part that matters. Look at what we have just walked through. A powder that costs under $1 per batch, dissolved in warm water, brushed onto the mold, and left to dry. No fumes, no scrubbing, no gloves eating through. And instead of the bleach cycle, spray and return. Spray and return, a residue that sits in the grout and the wood and keeps working after you have long since put your brush away. Walk into a hardware store tomorrow and look at the mold and mildew aisle. You will find sprays that run $8, $10, $12 a bottle. Foaming treatments, gel treatments, brush-on sealers. Read the backs of them. The active ingredients in most of those bottles are either sodium hypochlorite, which is bleach in water, or quaternary ammonium compounds, which are effective but carry their own respiratory concerns and their own cost. The mold tile grout cleaner, the bathroom mildew spray, the basement mold treatment, different labels, different prices, same basic chemistry, same basic limitation. They kill the top, they leave the root. The box of borax has been on the laundry aisle this entire time. The same box. The same powder. Under $5 for enough to treat your whole house every year for years. And no one who sells a $10 bottle of mold spray has a reason to stand in the mold aisle and point you over to the laundry aisle and say, "Look at this box. It does the same job better and costs a tenth of the price." The building restorers know. The timber framers know. The folks who preserve old wooden structures for the next 100 years reach for borax the way my grandfather reached for salt. Because it works at the root. Because the residue stays. Because it has been working on damp wood and old stone for longer than any branded spray has been on any shelf. There is no money in that $5 box lasting a family years. There is good money in the $10 bottle they buy every spring and every fall and again next spring. That is not a conspiracy. It is just who has a reason to teach you and who does not. My grandfather's cellar smelled like damp earth and old stone every spring thaw. Esther's mother brushed the cellar walls with borax water every April. The cellar never had a mold problem. We do the same today. The box has been on the shelf the whole time. Most folks have just never been told to ask for it. You are being told now. So here is what I want you to do this week. First, buy a box of 20 Mule Team Borax on the laundry aisle at any grocery store or hardware store. Under $7 for a box that will last you years. Second, walk through your house and find your mold. The bathroom grout, the shower caulk, the basement wall, the windowsill, the rubber seal on the refrigerator. The ceiling above the tub, write down every spot. Third, mix 1 cup of warm water with 1 tablespoon of borax. Pour it into a spray bottle, put on your glasses and your gloves, open a window. Fourth, spray or brush the solution generously onto every mold patch you found. Cover the edges. Do not rinse. Leave it to dry overnight. In the morning, look at the patches. The mold will be dead. The surface will be dry. The residue will be sitting in the pores doing quiet, patient work while you go about your day. Reapply every few months in the damp spots. Once a year on the basement walls in early spring, before the thaw brings the moisture. That is the whole protocol. Under $1 a batch, 20 minutes, once a season. A mold problem that has been cycling and returning every few weeks put on a very different schedule. Tell me in the comments below, where does the mold get worst in your house? The shower grout, the basement, the window sills, the bathroom ceiling? And if your grandmother or your mother had a mold remedy that was not a spray bottle from the store, tell me what it was. Because those old kitchen and cellar remedies are exactly the kind of knowledge that disappears when nobody writes it down. And the comments on this video are how we keep it alive. I read every single one. Next time, since we have been speaking of keeping the old farmhouse clean and sound without a shelf full of expensive products, I am going to show you the old way my people strip and refinish a wood floor that has gone gray and dull and scratched. The sanding, the oil, the wax, the small patient work that brings a floor back to better than the day it was laid, with no contractor, no chemical stripper, and no bill that makes you wince when you open it. It is the natural next step after today. Until then, buy the box. Mix the water. Leave it to dry. The mold has been winning because you have been fighting it at the surface. Go for the root.